back, listeners, to the Inner Peace Better Health podcast. Your host, Sana. And today we are paddling into deep, transformative waters. Metaphorically, of course. Our guest is someone who doesn't just talk about healing, she lives it, breathes it, and rides its waves with raw vulnerability. So, listeners, meet my guest, Morgan Boszilkov. So, let me introduce a bit about Morgan to all of you. She is a certified plant medicine facilitator and spiritual life coach, and her work centers around helping people uncover the love, worthiness, and enoughness that already exist within them rather than chasing it outside. Through stories of darkness and light, her journey invites us to look within and ride life's waves with a little more grace and compassion. And today on Inner Peace Better Health, we'll explore how surfing can be a metaphor for emotional regulation, what psychedelics have to teach us about surrender and control, and how releasing judgment of ourselves and others can open the door to true freedom. So take a breath, get present, and let's begin, listeners. Morgan, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay. Morgan, this is so, so beautiful. You often use surfing as a metaphor for life's emotional highs and lows. I always find surfing really scary and intimidating, to be honest, but it's definitely such a beautiful metaphor. So, can you share how this imagery helps people relate to healing or integration?
Sure, thanks. So surfing itself is more of a visualization. You don't have to have experienced surfing to understand what it's like. And I think the idea of being caught in the waves when they are tumultuous, where we don't know which way is up and which way is down, when we can't catch our breath, those are things that we experience in our daily life, often through the challenges we face and the suffering that we find ourselves in through life's regular experiences. So I had no idea that I was caught in the churning of waves for over 40 years of my life. And then after my first plant medicine experience with mushrooms, it's like I stood up out of the wave and realized that that tumbling feeling of being in survival mode was really waves that were knee high or waist high. And I could stand up and see that my experience was just some small part of a much greater whole. And then eventually through practice, I learned through not only plant medicine, but the integration of those experiences and life experiences that I could use tools to ride the waves. And if I found myself stuck in the survival mode of not knowing which way is up or down, not being able to catch a breath, I could get out of that again because I knew that it was possible. And we can learn to use our tools to surf or swim or whatever it might be that resonates most with people. And then eventually we can get past the waves and to learn to float and really become one with the ocean.
That's so beautiful, Morgan. Really beautiful. Yeah, I definitely can get that imagery within, in my mind. That's really beautiful. And yeah, you mentioned about psychedelic, and I have had so many conversations with guests. Of course, there are so many misconceptions around psychedelics, but these journeys, they can reveal deep truths, but they can also unearth intense discomfort, which I believe it is definitely a part of healing journey, of our healing journey, because distress and discomfort judgment or that unforgiveness within us, it can really, really, you know, keep those emotions pent up within us, and it can eat us from within. So how do you help people differentiate between bypassing pain and then truly integrating what comes up? I mean, how does that process looks like?
That's such a great question. And I love your reflection on the struggle that can, face us when we're experiencing plant medicine. And I have to say that plant medicine is not for everyone. Um, I believe that ayahuasca and mushrooms and all of these different um, ways to experience ourselves and spirituality are beautiful, but life is also the ceremony. So, in the same way that we face things that are difficult in ceremonies driven by plant medicine, we also, like everyone knows, we experience difficult things in daily life, right? So, to me, plant medicine ceremonies are crash courses in ourselves and the collective experience. Um, but if we were to look at life as a whole, it is essentially the same thing. It is highs and lows and integrating our experiences and changing our story and our perception to see that things are not happening to us, but things are happening for us. So when we experience difficult things, both in life or in plant medicine experiences, the integration is so important because it helps us contextualize what we realize about ourselves and the world and say, oh, I can see now my part in that relationship. I can see now my part in my own suffering and how I show up in the world so we can release our judgments. One of my most difficult but most impactful experiences was when I started becoming, like, not physically becoming. It wasn't scary, but it was more like my ego did not want to accept the reality, the truth of becoming other people in my life that I had considered people who had caused me suffering. So, like, a name would come into my head, and I would have this knowing within me that would say, you are also them. And I was like, no, 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 I don't want to accept that. And I remember like clenching my fists and my body being rigid and being like, no, I cannot accept that I'm also this person. But then when I finally surrendered and let go and accepted, like, yes, I am also that person and that person and all of these people that I had judged in my life, I felt this release and this sense of not only oneness with them, but oneness with all things. And I could feel the pain of the judgments that I had carrying release from my body and my mind. And there was a lot of crying, but it was also really, really good for me. And now I can tap into that memory and that knowing because it's not just an intellectualized thought of like, yes, we are all one. Isn't it wonderful? But like a deep knowing in my body and my soul that like we truly are all one consciousness and I've experienced it.
That is so, it can be initially overwhelming for the listeners. But this is really true. And if I look this from another perspective, even if someone has done bad to us, and we always try to um, you know hate them and then also hate ourselves, I guess it is making them more successful because they would always like to get a reaction from us. But when we kind of let that particular feeling let go and just take the good learnings from those particular event or that person or that moment, that phase, and then move on and forgive them. Okay, fine, you have done bad to me, but I let it go, I just forgive you, gone. Then I think, in practical terms, we are winning, we are winning. So, yes, I mean, it can be really easy to judge, but then going through those moments and then becoming stronger and healing ourselves, whether it's through crying or just trying to release those emotions, it can be really, really therapeutic.
Yes, I agree that it can be so therapeutic to feel the feelings because I think that's something that, like I have other authors going through my head right now of Mel Robbins with Let Them, where we regain our own empowerment and control by focusing on ourselves, or Gabor Mate, when we notice when we're choosing attachment over authenticity, because from my own experience, when I am gaslighting myself, I am more likely to accept that invalidation and gaslighting from the external. So, one of the most important things I know from my own life and from my coaching clients, I see oftentimes is our own validation of our experience and allowing ourselves to let those feelings come up and through us so we don't stuff them inside. So we aren't ignoring what our bodies are trying to tell us. We've detached from our bodies so often by the time we're adults because we've chosen attachment over authenticity out of pure survival as children. And then over time, as we learn to get back in touch with our hearts and our bodies, and we validate our experiences when we're angry, we allow ourselves to be angry, and we can move through that forgiveness process by allowing ourselves to recognize and validate the experiences that we've gone through and then see our parts. And I know that for myself as a former an addict to victimhood, without even knowing it, I
Mm.
spent so much of my time blaming, complaining. I gave my power away. When you're talking about really winning through forgiveness, so much of that is empowering ourselves to do
Yes.
what we can with ourselves and not getting wrapped up in the story of how things are happening to us, but how can I take my power back and protect myself from this moment forward? I had a meeting with someone recently that I was
Mm.
very afraid of because I had all this history. And I realized as I was preparing for that meeting that what I was really afraid of was my ability to stand up for myself because I hadn't in the past. And so in every interaction, there are two parts. And I went into it saying, Morgan, you can change this interaction by changing your side of it. And I sent so much love and positive energy to the other person. And I've done a lot of healing work around this. This is not something I started doing 5 years ago, but you know, I've gotten to a point where I'm validating my experience. I'm letting emotions flow through my body. I'm noticing and acknowledging and honoring them. And then I'm also empowering myself to stand up for myself and protect myself in future and current experiences. And that brings an empowerment. Um, so I can trust myself and honor and love myself. And so much of it is that personal work. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Everyone else is just a mirror teaching us about ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow, that is really, really inspiring, Morgan. Um, and as you mentioned about, trusting yourself, I think we are in a world that has been constantly telling us that we are not enough, do this, do that. You need to be so much successful to, get that validation. And we kind of, at least what I feel that I would completely get lost into that, because until one point of my life, I was surrounded by those kind of external validations. Sometimes I still my inner critique, it, tries to have an argument with my inner self that, you see that particular friend of yours, she's right now a CEO of this company, or she's there in some other country. And what are you doing here? I mean, you just left your corporate job and you are doing this. Doing podcasting. What have you achieved? But then my inner self, you know, she definitely wins over the inner critique. So I have, gradually, I'm in process of trying to unlearn and understand my own worthiness. But then you also speak about love, enoughness, worthiness that is already within us, and that is absolutely evident with what you said just now. How do people? How can people begin to unlearn those messages? Because initially it can really feel like really tough and a little bit of scary. How can they do that?
I love that. And I love that you said um, that inner critic, right? Because we do have this inner dialogue because we've so often brought in whoever our caregivers were or our culture or whatever our external influences were as children. We've internalized those messages of not enoughness. And it's no one's fault. That's just part of our ego's journey, right? Teaching us to remember the love within. But it's a journey to remember that love. And what I often ask my clients is when you have that thing that you want, whether it's a job or a relationship, whatever that external thing, how will you feel when you get it? Is there a sense of, you know, when you project forward and think, oh, well, when I have that job, then I will feel enough. I will feel successful. I will feel abundant. I will feel worthy. And then once we've gotten down to that self-limiting belief of saying, well, without that job, I am not enough, not worthy, not whatever, can really meditate into that feeling. And sometimes that feels out of reach, right? Sometimes it feels like if I sit quietly, I can generate a feeling of abundance. And other times we just can't, right? Our mind is going too much. And we can really take a look at when we learned that about ourselves. What was it in the messaging that we got as children about not enoughness? And then how would we parent ourselves now? Like in what ways can we give ourselves the love that we would give our inner child? And it's hard because we're so used to telling ourselves over and over again the same type of messages that we received as children. So sometimes it can help to imagine someone else. What if our friend or what if a child in our life came to us with the same problem? What kind of encouragement or loving message would we give them? Would we say, oh, let's just say it's a friendship. Um, like someone doesn't call us back or someone has ghosted us. Would we tell someone, hey, keep trying, keep worrying about it? No, we would. If they don't want to contact you right now, It's okay. It is not you. You are worthy. You are wonderful. You are amazing. I love you. And, you are worth so much more love and care and attention than that person you're worrying about is giving you. We would speak so much more kindly and lovingly to everyone else in our lives than we would ourselves. So sometimes it helps to just imagine if someone else were experiencing this, what loving advice and care would we give them? And can we give that to our own inner child? Can we parent ourselves in a way that we weren't parented?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the irony. That's the irony, because we are always loving and caring to someone else, but why not us? Why not ourselves? Why not the inner child within us? Great, wonderful, wonderful, Morgan. And before we wrap up, um, if our listeners would like to connect with you to explore more about the metaphors of surfing, the wonders of psychedelics, and also if they would like to take on this journey of stop judging others and themselves, what will be the best way to do that?
My website is a wealth of information and also has my blog and my art and posts to all sorts of resources. And the website is morganbstudio.com. And that's Morgan B like boy, studio.com.
Great. I'll make sure to have the website and details mentioned in the show notes. And Morgan, thank you so, so much for this beautiful, practical, yet so profound conversation. And one thing I can definitely take away myself from this conversation is the waves, they won't stop coming, but we can definitely learn to ride them with more clarity, self compassion, curiosity, and trust. Trust on ourselves that we can do it. So, thank you so much, Morgan.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, and to all the beautiful listeners out there, I thank you, all of you, for being a part of Inner Peace, Better Health. May you remember that your peace isn't out there, it's already residing within you. Until next time, this is Inner Peace, Better Health, and I'm your host, Sana, reminding you to be gentle with your soul and to be mindful. Thank you.